What's up, y'all?
What's going on?
And welcome to the Hanging Out Forever podcast. I'm your host,
Welcome
Asia,
back. And Grant.
and also
co-host.
host, Grant.
I'll give you the host and I'll be the co-host.
Well, I'll take it then. Okay,
Yeah.
look at me. I am the top of the dog. All right, so we have not podcasted in quite a while, and we were just kind of like getting like podcaster crazy, and we miss talking to you guys in this format. I miss podcasting. I miss releasing podcasting clips. I miss talking to you in this format. So we decided that we're gonna bring back podcasting.
Yeah, because I mean, well, we
didn't stop it permanently.
We didn't stop it permanently. We wanted to take a break because we've been having all these ideas stirring up about changing the podcast area, changing the setup, getting new furniture, all these things. And then we're like, should we just wait and just surprise everybody?
at once,
surprise everybody with the new setup. But I think we realized it's going to take a little bit more time
than what we had anticipated previously.
Exactly. So we were just like, you know what? Let's just get back into it.
Yeah.
Do what we do. And we're back. Here it is.
Baby.
Yeah. And it's the perfect time to do a little recap of 2023. Yeah. So let's get right into it.
Oh my God, this is going to be such a good
much
episode.
Has happened in the year 2023 for us. You know, it's been a lot of ups and downs for us relationship wise, I would say, but also a lot of success. A lot of new career endeavors, just a lot of things.
Things.
What are some highlights for you?
Oh, okay. So highlights. I directed my first film.
Yep.
Big highlight there. I directed my first movie. Amazing. Worked on that for like a year. Filmed it in 3 days, which is just crazy. The pre-production versus production.
Yeah.
Going to Europe, we went on a Euro trip for a month. So of course that
Amazing.
was big highlight. Amazing. Yeah. Totally changed our lives in a way too, because now we want to move to Europe, and that is like the goal.
Change your perspective a lot on life.
On life?
Just yeah, kind of. I mean, like changes the perspective and the way of you see how these people live in this different country,
Yeah.
And changed my perspective, I feel.
Yeah, I've been to Europe a few times, so I think that this was the first time I had been to Europe and been like, the United States really don't got it together.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It puts a lot of into perspective.
And so we're like really excited to move out there, and that's kind of like our gung-ho thing that we're really going to focus on. Obviously, if business goes crazy or if the things that I'm writing get picked up, then I probably won't leave. But I don't know. I might still leave, and y'all just fly me out when y'all need me, But I think that those are my highlights. And then the podcast. Oh my God, duh.
Yeah.
Starting the podcast is
starting the podcast, starting to do the street segments, which has just blown up, and it's crazy to think, because before we started doing the podcast and we were both kind of making our own independent content, whether it was through, our film stuff or whatever it was, I personally never thought that I would be able to like hit 1 million views.
Yeah.
That just was like so far out of my thinking. And when we finally did it, it really was amazing at first. And then we got like 20 million views on just this one post. And it really just, I think it has kind of jaded me a little bit when it comes to content and like views and things like that. Like now I'm just like, addicted. I want more and more. Yeah. Well, you just want to keep it consistent now.
I feel like a little addicted because I'm now understanding why people will do anything for views, because it totally changes your entire vibe. It changes how you feel. It changes about how you feel about your content, how you feel about what you're doing. It makes you feel so confident. Your career path. It literally puts you on this total high.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And yeah, that's where we should start, honestly, is like hitting our first 1 million views. So Grant came up with the idea, hey, we should start doing street segments. I was like, sure, why not? We're already in San Diego. Let's go ahead and do it. So we go out and we do some street segments, and we get the GOAT. Shout out to the GOAT. 22 million. I left a 6-year relationship because he wasn't taking me on dates. Totally valid. And it was weird during that time because we had released podcast clips first, and then we released street segments a little bit later, like a month and a half, 2 months later.
Because we were like thinking about doing it. We're like, should we do street segments for our own, podcast thing and do relationship advice or relationship questions? And we were like, yeah, let's go. Let's try it. Let's
totally do it. And it's funny because the first clips that we had that went viral, which is relative to us, I think it got like
20,000 views or something.
Like 20,000 views. And then I think it went to like 50,000 views, something like that. Yeah. And that was really crazy for us because we got a lot of hate with those videos first. People were calling
that
him
one was
beta.
That was
I
the
missed
first
the red
like
pillars.
virality that we hit.
Yeah.
Was a podcast clip of me talking about how Asia has, she's got a bunch of notes and memorabilia from her old relationships. When you say one, it makes it seem like it's that one guy, but it's like him and everybody else. Yeah, and it was just kind of memorabilia it was mainly memorabilia from like her past relationship, but also some like old friends, and it was like a big box of just her past, and it felt wrong for me to be like, oh, I want you to throw that out because you have stuff from you have letters from your ex or something like that. And knowing who you are too, and you're very sentimental and you take things, you have a lot of keepsakes for, just everything you do in the past. So, I knew it's not mainly, it's more about the gift. It's not really about who it was from, and so I'm confident in myself and in our relationship that I know that you're not still holding these feelings for your ex or something, just because
if that was the case, I'd be looking at these notes every day.
Yeah, they're just like away in like a box, and
that I haven't been through in forever. And we went through it recently because we were cleaning out some stuff from the closet, and you were like, "What's this?" And I was like, "Oh, there they are, the notes."
Yeah, and I mean it's just not. I don't know. It's not a big deal to me.
It's really not that
It's
deep.
not a big deal to her. It's fine. And so everybody on the internet, though, it wasn't fine with them. They were tripping.
No,
so we got
friends?
like
Oh my
eaten
God.
up. We got eaten up by a bunch of trolls, a bunch of like
Alpha
male,
males.
like red pillars and stuff. And
his friends also had issues with it.
my friends mainly had issues with the virality of it and the fact that it was going around and that so many people were so upset about it, and they're like, oh my God, like what is happening right now, and I manage an artist, and he's like looking at it like, how's this gonna affect me, like you're my manager and stuff. And so it was a whole thing,
honestly.
Yeah,
I got over it.
It was a whole thing. And then once we hit a milli,
Then
they forgot. They all forgot.
You also, y'all, he not telling you the full truth. So like you were also kind of on your friend bandwagon where you were like, yeah, it's a bad look because it's not just my image. It's also the image of other people. That's
but
being
it was
affected.
also like, and I understood that.
That's
though.
true, but they were attacking me more than they were attacking you.
But it was a lot at once, and literally within a day, me and you both were like, oh, we're cool, we're fine. Because it was like,
it was scary though.
It was like freaking me out for a little bit.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember I was
crazy.
out of town too, and so we weren't like together, and I was just like kind of watching it by myself.
I
I'm
think
like,
if we were
what is
together, we
happening?
would have been able to process it differently.
Yeah, definitely. But literally the next day, I was like, oh, like it's all kind of stopped. It's all kind of like subsided, and I'm just going on with my life. Like I'm not even thinking about it anymore. So it's just kind of, I think that's something that you need to realize when you go viral, is that when you go viral, there's so many other things going viral as well. So if you're getting a lot of negativity, just know that people are literally probably forgetting within the same minute that they're commenting. They're like sending their little 2 cents, and then they move on to the next thing to give their 2 cents too. So they're really not dwelling on you. So there's no need in dwelling on the post or like dwelling on how many people are seeing this, or how are they perceiving me, because people really aren't dwelling on it. And you're just going to go on with your life, and nothing will probably come from it,
Yeah, well, I miss people being like, beta, cuck.
Beta.
And then calling me, what they call me? She's an alpha woman. Bah.
She's a modern woman.
She's going to be a horrible mom.
She's a modern woman.
She's going to ruin
and then they start
structure
talking
of your
about all the
household.
women in the U.S. They're like,
oh, yeah.
all the women
yeah,
in
that's
the
right. I forgot about
US.
women in the U.S. just ain't it anymore.
No.
Ugh. This is why you have to go overseas, fellas. I'm sorry. I'm sure that most of you guys don't even have a fucking passport. Are you kidding me? Talking about women in the U.S. ain't it anymore, sir.
So funny.
Anyway, yeah, it wasn't until we hit our first 1 million views, though, that you were more invested in the podcast. It wasn't until then, because I remember like we posted the street segments and I felt like, oh my God, he's not like really being a partner with me in this, and he doesn't really care as much as I care. And I think that this could be great. And then the view started going up. We hit like 20, and then it was 50, and then it was 100,000. It was 200,000. We were like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
And then it hit 1 million, and we were both shocked because we thought what she was saying made sense. Yeah, totally leave a relationship if they're not going to tell you that you're pretty, and that if they're not going to take you on dates. Why would you want to be with somebody that doesn't value your love language?
And it probably was even deeper than that. She was probably putting it lightly.
Definitely deeper than
it takes
that.
a lot to leave a 6-year relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot on both sides. And there was probably a lot going on in that relationship, and she was probably just putting it lightly.
So the fact that it got 22 million views, I still can't.
I know.
It blows my mind.
It's so weird
because
because
it's like, how is this a debatable thing?
Yeah. And then it's also like you try to, when you go viral like that, I feel like you try to mimic it. So we were like, what hashtags did we use? What was the length of the video? What was this? What was that? But then it's like you try to mimic that, and then it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, maybe it's not the length of the video, or maybe just some things people have a lot to say about, because that was it too. People were interacting with it like crazy and like sharing it like crazy. So people had a lot to say about it.
Because women found it relatable, and men were mad.
Yeah.
I would say that was the majority. Is a lot of women found it relatable, and a lot of men were pissed.
Yeah. So it's tough to know like what's going to work and what's going to go, what's not going to go. So I think at this point we're just kind of like, let's just go out, get what we can get, you know, because even with the street segments, we'll have a mindset of like, oh, maybe we should get some toxic stuff tonight. And then we're like, no, you know, we've been doing too much toxic. We've been, you know, let's go.
Because we want to focus on dating and getting to the bottom of dating.
Yeah.
Because that's what brought us to the podcast in the first place. And I think that, like, I'm going to be honest, I really think podcasting saved our relationship this year.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, I don't know
too.
where we would be if we didn't start podcasting and talking about our feelings and like actually working in a collaborative.
And seeing success too on top
and
of
seeing
it.
success.
Even like yeah, because even the views and stuff we were getting was almost kind of validating our relationship in a weird way.
I think it was validating more of the relatability of our issues more than our relationship itself.
Yeah.
I think that when we first started, people would be like, oh my God, I'm going through this with my boyfriend, or wow, this is so raw and authentic content.
Yeah.
And it's weird because when you become that raw and authentic, you almost find a way to accidentally curate that again. Over and over and over so that it's relatable. And I feel like somewhere in the middle, maybe this isn't how other people are perceiving it, but it's just, I'm hyper critical. And so I feel like, damn, am I over analyzing everything now? Because I literally think in clips.
Yeah.
Every time we have
funny.
a conversation, I'm like, damn, that would have been a good podcast. Damn, that would make a good clip.
But I mean, that's just something that's like, if you start doing something more and more, you're going to get used to it.
That's true.
And you're going to start thinking in that way. But I think at the end of the day, we have a lot to talk about, and we have a lot to say about our relationship. We've been in a relationship for almost 8 years.
Oof.
And, you know, we have a lot of advice to give, and we have a lot of perspective on it. So I think that's just us having a conversation.
Yeah.
But then we're also like, that was a good clip, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. 'Cause like we're in a relationship and we're giving advice on it, but we're also content creating, you know? So it's kind of a mix of both.
Yeah.
And, I don't think it's not really that curated though.
Okay, good.
It's pretty natural.
I guess it's because I think about what kinds of things to talk about on the podcast that it's like, is this natural anymore? Because when we first started, our first episode was called Should We Break Up? And we just talked about what our issues were, and we really laid it out. And it was crazy because our friends didn't understand that we have so many things going on under the surface, because everybody that sees us, you guys are amazing. You guys are so happy together. You guys are meant for each other.
That's what freaked a lot of people out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my people were fine, but I think that your friends
even
didn't expect it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely polarizing, you know, and not a lot of dudes communicate like this with their partners. So it can be very polarizing for guys, you know. And I get that. I understand it, you know. I think also it has a lot to do with the fact, I think the fact that it feels so natural is because we started doing this like 6 years into our relationship, almost 7 years into our relationship. So we have that foundation of communication already. If we were starting to do this at like year 1, it would come off really weird, I feel like. Because I actually know like a couple that, I'm not going to call them out, but
they got a podcast? They talk about their relationship?
They make like a lot of content together. You know, it's like couples, and they also do food stuff, and like, but they literally started, like, this couple started doing content right away right when they got into a relationship. So it's almost like that almost seems curated. Is it a relationship
or is it content?
It's content, but it's like,
they go, I was saying,
they're like playing off that they're boyfriend and girlfriend for sure, you know, and they're like go to restaurants together.
I know, but I think what I was saying was like, is your relationship real or is it just content?
Yeah, like that's kind of weird when it's like you start doing content with somebody that you just got with, you know, and there's really no foundation set there. It's like the foundation is curated around making content and stuff. And that's like a weird situation, I feel.
I think that's so interesting because we actually, when we did a street segment not too long ago, one of the girls had said that everybody wants a social media relationship and that they'll leave you if you're not social media ready, or if you're not camera friendly, or if you're not brandable. And I think that that's really interesting because everybody is hunting after the attractive guy that looks good on camera with the chiseled body, or the dad bod that also has a vibe in the internet, you know?
Yeah.
Like everybody's searching for their place on the internet, especially when you're in a relationship and you make content. And what I think is really interesting about people who are in a relationship and they make content is they make content about everything. And I think that there's some things that you and I have decided to keep sacred. Like we might vlog a little bit about like Christmas or post about what we're doing this day, but that's your sacred time because you're a Christmas guy. You love Christmas. It's your favorite holiday. And I think that we should keep that sacred. But to me, and I see a lot of influencers do this, and I see the woman's side. I don't know the guy's side, but usually the woman is the influencer and the guy's just coming along for the ride. And there are some guys that you can just totally
and then the
tell.
Girl has like 1 million followers and the guy has like 100,000 followers.
Yeah, and you can just totally tell that he's just
being forced to be there. Well, that's honestly
doing his TikTok dances.
That's what I love about the content that we make, because we're not just some like TikToker influencery couple. We have skills in different assets, you know, like first off, like our podcast setup is always on point because we have a film background. You know, we do the street contents, which is always like really interesting to people, and not a lot of people can just go out and do that. You know, we have a whole setup that we do. We have a whole audio setup, a camera rig setup. So
it's all
you know,
in-house.
not a lot of people can do what we do. And, you know, even if we started today creating like the TikTok dancey and like, you know, I don't know, just the skits and things like that. Even if we started doing that today, I'm glad that we built a foundation in something that was more higher quality content, you know, that was like podcasting and street segments and something more like riveting than, you know, cause even like vlogging, I think is pretty cool. And I think that, we can do a good job at it because we have a film background and we'll be able to make it interesting.
Yeah, I think so too. I've seen hella people on the internet though who don't have film backgrounds and their stuff looks amazing. And so I don't want to downplay what other couples are doing.
I'm not even downplaying that. Well, I kind of am. Because
like some of the skits. And I'm like, I like watching some skits. I don't want to do skits.
It's so lame.
You love that one girl with her chef husband. You think
she's funny.
Hilarious.
She doesn't do skits though. She does like
everything that they do is staged.
Crazy like I know, but she's very interesting
And
because
she's so beautiful.
But
She's so
she's
pretty.
really interesting because she does like these huge elaborate things. Like it's not just like them like voicing over some like stupid video or something.
But
you
it's
know?
okay
Like,
for people to do that too, though.
that's
I
okay.
don't wanna,
I'm just saying that's not for us.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
not for us. It's
And
great
that
for
I'm
when
just
people do
saying
it.
that I'm happy that we didn't go down that route and that
Mm-hmm.
we have the skill set and went down the route that we went down, because I don't think I'd be able to do that route. And you say
Yeah.
things like, when you say things like there are some people who are trying to get in a relationship with somebody who's camera ready and things like that, you know, I feel like I would not be ready for something like that. You know, I was ready for something like how we did it with a podcast, and with street segments and things like that. I was ready for that, but you know, like something like that would be tough for me because I would not get over the cringiness of it. You know, even with vlogging, I feel a little
Vlogging
discomfort.
is cringe.
Yeah,
But you got to
exactly.
do it. And I like vlogging.
But it's cool. At the end of the day, you're right. Like I do end up liking what we get, and I'm like, oh, that was a great memory, and I'm glad that we, you know, filmed it.
Yeah.
So, you know, with that, I like it, and I think that to the point of people being so hyper aware of like being in a relationship and being content creators, it's kind of, I'm just happy that we have created something that will help us stand out. Because if everybody wants that, then it's just going to get oversaturated, you know, and I'm glad that we have something that not everybody can do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that like it's weird with the podcast and content creating because we used it as a way to kind of get back to each other in a way. So I wanted to ask you, do you feel like the podcast saved our relationship?
I think honestly, we would have been able to figure something else out if we didn't start that. But I think that was the catalyst of helping us connect in a way. I don't think that it was like the make or break thing. Like, I don't think that if we didn't start the podcast, then we wouldn't be together now. I think we would have figured it out some other way. But I think that ended up being something that brought us together and connected us in a way. And I think we needed that at the time.
Yeah.
So I think that it helped a lot, but do I think that it completely saved us? I don't know if I can give it that, you know.
I would say that honestly, for me, I think it did. Because I was just really at the end of it. Like in June when we were in San Diego, I was really at the end of my rope.
Yeah.
And I just could not see me continuing our relationship much longer. And I really think that not because of obviously the success of the podcast is part of it, but working on something in this collaborative capacity together really put us in a position to have to start communicating differently. And the biggest thing is since we started the podcast, for the first time in our relationship, I felt like we were finally moving toward building our life together.
Yeah.
Before that, I felt like we were just together. We were dating. It's Asia. It's Grant. It's cool.
And
I
just
love
doing
him.
our own
He's great.
independent
He's
things.
doing his thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing. But it didn't feel like we were building a life together in a single direction. It just felt like we were each throwing things at the wall and seeing what stuck. And for me, I would say that the podcast saved our relationship. Maybe we wouldn't have broken up. Maybe we'd be together now, but I think that I would not have been as happy as I am. And it's not because like, oh my God, the podcast is successful, I'm going to love you as long as the podcast has success. It's just, I needed that level of partnership from you. And I needed to feel like you were invested in our relationship in a way where we were building our lives together towards an end goal. And I don't think it was until the podcast that it provided a lot of clarity.
It
for that
definitely
direction.
brought us together in a lot of ways, you know. First, like, it really it physically sat us down to sit next to one another and talk, you know, which I think that is always good. It's always gonna be a good outcome from that, being forced to kind of communicate in that way. And I think that in that way, it's really helped, you know, and also us just coming together as a team, kind of like what you said, and having an end goal and getting a lot of gratification from that goal too, you know, because I mean, all the views and things that we've received from it, it's really rewarding to do something together and to see so much success from. So yeah, I think it definitely brings us together in a lot of ways. And I think that I don't know what else has changed besides that, but I feel like we've just been in such a good place because I mean, there's been lots of ups and downs still since we started the podcast, you know, that we've had to get through, but I feel like, it's been a lot easier to get through things recently, you know, because and maybe it is because of the success we've gained or the success we've seen from the podcast. It makes things a little less scary and it makes, you know, looking into the future a little more brighter.
That's true.
But I also think that we're going to have a lot of success outside of the podcast too. So, you know, I was never really worried about that, but yeah, it helps it gives a little bit more cushion and a little bit more peace of mind knowing that we're like, okay, this has already shown success. So, it might slow down at times, but I think it will always be successful. You know?
I think that like what made me nervous is like you're always so positive, and I felt like you had a level of almost toxic positivity to where you're like, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna work out between us. So it made me feel like I was crazy when I feel like I'm experiencing things in our relationship that you're saying are fine. And that made me feel like we were on two different wavelengths of where we were trying to go. And I think that starting the podcast really sat us down and put us on the same linear track. Because like you have your creative endeavors, I have my creative endeavors and stuff like that. But just felt like we weren't on the same page and that I was experiencing a different version of our relationship than you were experiencing. And I know that you felt that way too. And so when I'd be like, I don't feel like we're in a good place, you'd be shocked, like, why? And I'm like, you can't possibly think we're in a good place right now. You want us to be in a good place. So you try to convince yourself that we're in a good place, but realistically, are we in a good place? And so I think having a platform like this, regardless of who watches, has forced us to sit down and have conversations about where we really are and how we're really doing. And we don't get to hide behind toxic positivity or wishful thinking because we have to keep each other accountable so that we can communicate about the reality of our relationship, whether it's my reality or it's your reality or a reality that we're both facing. And so I think that that's been almost in a way like a guiding light to us being problem solvers.
Yeah.
And then I think also,
it's like putting the mirror in front of ourselves and even like being able to like watch back a conversation, you know, is pretty powerful in like the sense of, you know, just being accountable for yourself and seeing yourself have a conversation and seeing the points you're making and listening, being able to listen in on the points that your partner's making. It's really like interesting to look back on, you know, and it really just solidifies things. And, I think it's just it's been great for our communication for sure. And I think that, you know, life, I don't know if it's because of the podcast, but, you know, it feels like it's easier for us to get through things now too. And I think that it's easier for us to get on the same page with things. And our communication, I feel like, has been better than ever. I don't know if it's all because of the podcast, but, you know, it definitely has gotten better since we've been doing the podcast and things.
You gonna be with me? Why?
Why? I just love being with you because we have so many good times together and we know each other so well that we know how to communicate with each other and we respect each other. And I feel like no matter how angry we are, we always have that respect. And I know it's been hard, like in certain times, to remember why we're in a relationship together, but we always come back to it. You know, we always like remember why. And we just always remember that we always remember why we're here, you know, and that we wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And at the end of the day, like, you're who I want to be with, and you're who I want to see when I come home every day, or you're the person that I want to see when I wake up in the morning, or you're the person that I could spend every second of the day with, you know, and I would never get old. It would never get old. I would never get sick of it, you know? So it's things like that I think of where I'm like, this is why I could be with you for the rest of my life, because it's almost been 8 years and it does not feel that long at all. Mm-hmm. You know, it really doesn't. It feels, I don't know how long it feels, but it doesn't feel like 8 years. I feel like so refreshed by you. I don't feel, you know, like I want to get away from you or I need time from you. I just want more time with you, you know? So it's really good to feel that in a relationship. It's important, I think.
You almost made me cry.
Yeah.
That was really good. Are you going to put that in your vows?
That's a clip.
Write that down.
That's a clip. That's a clip.
That was really sweet. No, I totally agree. It doesn't feel like we've been together 8 years. And I don't understand fully why that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I think
it's because there's just been different stages of our relationship, of our personalities,
that's true,
of our independence, things that we have going on. And I think it's really important to have that in a relationship. You want stages. You want to be a totally different person at the end of your, well, maybe not at the end of your relationship, but however many years in than when you began. You know, you want to learn. It's a learning process. Nobody's perfect. You're going to continue to figure out new things about yourself, about your partner, and you just have to really trust in the relationship. I think it's about trust, and it's about trusting each other. It's about, you know, pushing each other to be the best person they can while also being understanding of one another. And yeah, I think it's just important. It's important to change.
Yeah.
It's important to change, and it's important to make sure that no matter how much each other change, you want to get back to the same page.
I really think that one of the most beautiful things about our relationship is how able we are to love each other through all of our different phases. Because like you said, we like grew up together essentially, you know, from early 20s to where we're at now. We're not the same people. No. We don't have the same values as when we first started dating. And I think it's really beautiful when a relationship can blossom with time and you're not expected to remain the same person.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of relationships where, he or she are not the same person that they were when we first started dating in year one. Yeah, that's because you're growing up. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen, you know.
Things are going to evolve, you know.
And if honestly, if you're with somebody that can't evolve as you evolve, then that might be your answer of whether or not you're even supposed to be together, because who you are now is not who you were year one. Like you are so, like, you were always kind, but you're so much more attentive. You're so much more present. You're so much more, I don't even know, like loving, I would say.
Attentive.
Did I say attentive already?
I think so, but that's like the best word to put it. Because like so you can be all those things, kind and all these things, but if you're not like attentive, or if you're not putting that into action, you know, then it's not showing. So it's about like showing all of that and kind of putting someone before yourself.
I think that I feel more seen in our relationship now than I have in any of the years prior. And this was one of the hardest years for us. This is the year I did not think we were going to make it out. Yeah. I did not think we were going to make it out. And, you know, just because I said this now doesn't mean that when we get in a fight later, you're going to be like, well, what happened to you feeling seen? What I was then and this is now. So don't bring that up.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't use that against me.
Play it back.
I hate it when you do that. I'll be like, I'm not happy. Oh, you were happy yesterday.
You were happy a day ago.
Yesterday. I hate it when you do that.
That's funny.
But I I just think that we're in a really happy, peaceful place. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to fight. Doesn't mean that we're not going to have more fights to talk about on the podcast or disagreements that we need to hash out, etc. But I don't know. I just feel like I look at you differently, and I know you really want to get married. And I've said a million times before that marriage was never on my radar, but now I see myself trying to be a little bit more so that I can be there with you. You know, I can be there with you when you ask me to marry you. I can be there with you before we even get there, because there's just little things I try to do. Like, it's not crazy, but the dishes. I do the dishes pretty religiously now. And that's because I want to show you that I want to participate in ways that matter to you. I want to validate you in ways that matter to you. And we've had a lot of those conversations recently where you're like, I don't want to feel like I'm forced to be a passive participant in our relationship. And I think that just us always figuring out how to learn how to love each other. Because I think a lot of people get hung up on, well, you should already know by now. And there are some things you should already know by now. But that doesn't mean that other things can't be reinforced. Other things can't be talked about. Other things can't be spoken about.
Yeah,
we don't need to.
I mean, it's like if you're showing a lot of progression, and I think it's important to just make sure that your partner is showing that they care and that they really want to put in the work to be the partner that your, significant other may require, because that's okay. That's okay for somebody to be like, this is a certain type of partner that I want. And this is what I need from you. It's okay. It's okay to meet those standards. And I think that a lot of people kind of get in their head about that, but it's like, you don't need to change who you are to meet certain standards that your partner's looking for, or that's not you completely changing who you are, because clearly they love who you are at your core. So you need to just keep what's at your core, and just listen to what your partner needs from you and be like, okay, I can do this for you. And, and make sure that that's something that you grow off of, or just something that you kind of keep in the back of your head, making sure that you're taking the initiative on, being that for your partner. Cause, I don't know, there's been times where we've had conversations and you kind of tell me what you need from me, and it just feels like a lot, it feels like a lot of pressure and things like that. But then I also think about, there's a lot of things that you give me grace on, and there's a lot of things that you do for me, or that you've changed for me, so you have to keep in mind that it's not always, you're not always going to be like completely compatible in certain ways, but it is, I think the goal is like becoming closer and closer to that, and making sure that you guys can get as close as possible to on the same page of what each other want and who each other are. And you don't need to change yourself in the process of that. You can really, you can change your values and things with still remaining the same person at your core. Because at the end of the day, that's who that person wants to be with, is the person at your core. They just think that, you may not be fulfilling some other standards. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. It's really just about it's really just about communicating about it and making sure that you guys are respectful towards one another, and just expressing yourself and making sure that where you are and what you want to be for that person.
Do you ever feel exhausted by our relationship, or me?
I think that I don't feel exhausted. Sometimes I feel a lot, like it's a lot, and it's a lot of pressure, but like relationships, they're not really supposed to be easy. I don't think they're not supposed to be like just this breeze, like easy coasting thing. I feel like you're going to constantly have to hit dead ends, and it's really about getting through that. There's going to be so many roadblocks. So it's like you can either run into the roadblock, get out of your car and just walk home, or you can like get out of your car, figure out a way around it. You know, it's like all these, it's like a puzzle, you know, you got to keep like finding the pieces, but I don't think it's exhausting though. Cause I think if it was exhausting, then that's just like a bunch of unnecessary roadblocks that you're hitting. You know, if you're like completely exhausted from it, then I think that you're adding more to, you're complicating things more, you know. But yeah, there's times where I'm like, damn, this is hard, you know, but then we get through it and I'm like, damn, that was worth it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it's a love-hate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. Relationships are hard. You know, it is just hard, but
I think the highs though, like the highs really outweigh the lows. And if you're in a relationship and you're looking at it and you're like, I can't see any highs, it's just all lows, then, you know, there's an issue there.
yeah.
You don't feel all lows?
No.
Yeah, I think that this was like a really transformative year for our relationship and for us, like as individuals as well, you know, with everything you have going on with Till Death, with everything we have going on together, with everything I have going on individually. I'm really proud of how we've been able to balance all of those things and not lose each other in the process, even when it was hard, because the 7th year, I would dub the hardest year in our entire relationship. It was so hard. And it felt like the longest year in our relationship.
It did.
This was
this 1 year felt like 7 years.
Yeah, that's where the 8 years now comes into play. Is the last 7th year.
It did, but I think the year felt long in general, like with everything else that we have going on outside of our relationship and stuff. You know, it just felt like a long year for some reason. But I think that we like challenged ourselves the most this year.
Yeah,
though.
I think so too.
Like we saw the most challenges, got through the most challenges, and now me personally, I feel like I have a much more positive outlook on things because I'm like, if we can get through that, you know, then we can get through a lot.
Yeah.
You know? So I feel good in that aspect.
Me too. What are some of your I don't know, I was phrasing that. What are some of the accomplishments you're most proud of for this year?
I think, well, like obviously with the podcast, like us, you know, hitting millions of views and getting a brand sponsorship. Like I just I just never would have thought that would like be in the cards, you know? I don't know.
I would have never thought of myself as a brand deal girl.
Yeah. It that's just cool. Didn't, you know, I never thought that would happen. So that was like huge. What was another thing? I mean, I don't know. Europe, of course. Yeah, Europe was huge. I'd never, you know, been to Europe, so to go to all of those main places in Europe was amazing. I feel like I really experienced Europe, and so that was great. And that, you know, like I said before, it changed my complete perspective on the way of life in the US compared to like how they live in other countries, you know. So that really opened my eyes up in a lot of ways. And then probably the other thing is just, you know, my perspective on how I want to go about my production company. And I feel like I have kind of this whole new wave that I'm going to start, you know, and just a lot of new ideas and new content, you know, and I'm excited for that too.
Yeah.
So,
I love that for you.
Yeah.
What about this MOOC?
The MOOC, same old.
I want to talk about directing a movie for 2 seconds. That was the most wonderful thing I ever did. I'm addicted to making movies now, and all I can think about is making movies. I think that after we had wrapped Siren, it was just so much work leading up to it, and like we raised $12,000, lost all of it, and it went back to the people that it came from, and then we had to raise more money. We ended up raising $30,000 the second time. Amazing. And it was just such a year-long process to get everything with that film going, that I think that when we wrapped, I was just like, God.
Yeah. And after we wrapped, we just
went straight to Europe.
Yeah.
And that's how I planned it. I was like, film weekend, dipping.
Yep.
Oh my God. And I had a friendship breakup. That's something that we'll talk about in another episode. But me and one of my best friends broke up.
Yeah.
And that was really sad. And I cried like for 2 days, for like a day. I think I cried only one time, actually.
Yeah.
I'll be crying. Like for me, it's really hard for me to harp on people who are no longer in my life. And I think that a best friend breakup is really hard because you have this person you're telling all your secrets to, all your crazy shit and all these things. And whenever you make a best friend, you always think they're going to be in your life forever. And so then when they're not, you start wondering, should you have not shared that? Should you have not said that? Damn, I miss telling her this. Damn, I miss telling her that. Wow, I could call what's her face right now and I would love to talk real quick.
Yeah.
You know, and so you have to celebrate the life of your friendship while also mourning the death of it at the same time. And I'll get into the friendship breakup probably on another episode.
Yeah.
But it was just really hard for me. And I know it was.
No, that's hard.
It might have been hard for her too. And I don't think that what caused it was fully wrong. You know, I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, she was tripping, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I think she had some very valid points. And I think that I can be, you know, we were in a work environment. So, but when I'm in a work environment with people, I'm just the goal. I don't really think about nothing else. And I think I focused so much on what I was going through that I didn't allow her to process through me
And she hadn't
what she was going
experienced
through.
you in that.
And she hadn't
aspect.
experienced me in that capacity.
Yeah.
And so I think that she didn't feel valued, which is crazy to me personally, because like I tried to slide her some money and pay for dinners.
You were very like, just, I don't know. You were very mindful of how you were, especially with her. Especially with her though.
But if I
like
was as mindful, then we would have not broken up, because there was, I think
it was a mix of her sensitivities, mixed with her not being able to work with you in that capacity. But you were mindful. You were, and like what you did and said or whatever, you know, it just shouldn't have gone. It wasn't that deep. It wasn't that deep.
Yeah, but like, you know, we're still putting blame on her. I have to take accountability because I can suck oxygen out of a room. Like I can be so focused on what's going on with me that I don't allow other people to talk. But that's only true in this one particular work-based capacity. I'm not typically like that at all.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there was just a lot of things that I was doing in this project, one of the many projects I was working on, and it just became so hard that I was just like maybe dumping on her a lot, and I didn't give her the space to dump on like what her emotions were, how she felt about it. And that definitely wasn't fair. And I think because of that, she felt taken for granted, which still to me personally, I can see how she felt that way, but it doesn't fully compute that she wouldn't take into account certain things I was doing. But ultimately, like, we'll get into everything later. But
we'll get into
friendship
that.
Breakups are really hard. And so I'm ending the year with one last bestie, which sucks.
Because it's like,
I just wish it didn't end up that way. And it's hard because we were friends for like 8 years.
Yeah, it sucks.
So,
and I really liked her too. I loved her for you. I loved her as a friend.
I loved her for me too.
And
I missed her at our Christmas party. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, damn, she would have been tight here, because she can be awkward in crowds, but once she gets drunk and she loses up, she's so weird and hilarious.
Yeah.
Like she's just so funny to me. She's one of those people that's accidentally funny. They're not funny because they make jokes. They're funny because they just do weird shit and it's hilarious. But
yeah, it sucks. It's sad at the end of the day. It's more sad than anything.
Yeah. And you know, that's a part of my 2023 recap. Went to Europe. Fell back in love with my man. Started a podcast. A lot
has happened this year. Holy
filmed
shit.
a movie. Directed my first narrative big project. Raised $30,000 for the project as a collaborative effort with other people.
Had our first get together at the house.
Had our first party at the house.
That
was so successful.
Yeah, it was so successful.
And then what's another thing that I did? Had a friendship breakup.
New car?
Very sad. No, I got my car last year.
Oh.
2022.
Okay. This year has gone by really slow.
Slow but fast.
Yeah.
But slow.
I know. Yeah.
And then we decided that we're going to move to Europe. So I feel like that's a lot of nice things. And I lost like 15 pounds.
Nice. Yeah, it's been a hell of a year. Hell of a year. So there you go.
Anything you want to say?
Just, more success, more.
Kitty, all this grooming is becoming excessive and rude. It's rude.
Yeah, she's a freak.
Damn.
Just to everybody watching, more success to you. Just I hope the best for everybody, because I know it's really hard out here.
Yeah, it's hard out here.
It's been hard for everybody. We've gone through a lot of problems together in our relationship, money problems. Everybody's going through it. Don't feel like you're the only one going through it, because everybody is. But I think that, if you just try to, push yourself and try to just get through it the best you can, find out whatever you need to do to get through it, whatever makes you happy, do it. Because at the end of the day, like it's just that's all we can do, is just find what makes us happy and find something that makes us, push forward. So whether it's a kitty cat, whether it's a new job, whether it's a new career path, whatever, new creative path, whatever it may be, find that and do it. And yeah.
That was good shit. Come on, mama. Oh, wow, honey. Yeah.
And
She told me she's
like
a baby.
that. Thank
We
you guys
go.
for watching. We go. Thank you guys for watching another episode. This is our kind of our first episode back, I guess. It's been a little while.
Our
but
2023 recap of Hanging Out Forever.
this is our 2023 recap of Hanging Out Forever.
So thanks for joining us, y'all. Make sure to follow us at Hanging Out Forever on literally all the platforms except for Twitter, and at Asia Corinne on Instagram. And Grant is at Blackwell. That's 2 C's, BLACCWELL.
There you go.
And yeah, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how your 2023 went, and hit us up on Instagram. Hit us up in the DMs. Our DMs are pretty much always open.
There it is.
All right, y'all.
Peace.